This is a 248-page manuscript. A book, or a codex is a better word for it. It's over 500 years old, and to this day it's yet to be deciphered.
For over a century, the Voynich Manuscript has taunted scholars, linguists, and conspiracy theorists alike. A bizarre, handwritten book in an uncrackable language filled with surreal plants and naked women in bathtubs. But now, after decades of dead ends, an artificial intelligence claims to have finally decoded it. And the result? Not forbidden knowledge or alien secrets, but something far more underwhelming. As it turns out, the real mystery might not be what the book says, but why we ever cared so much. A riddle wrapped in vellum. Imagine stumbling across a book that no one, not the world's top cryptographers, not historians, not even AI until recently, can read. That's the Voynich Manuscript. It's been called the most mysterious book in the world, and not without reason. Its 240 pages are packed with looping, elegant script that matches no known language, accompanied by drawings that swing between the curiously specific and the completely unhinged, alien-looking plants, zodiac charts, herbal diagrams, and groups of women bathing in interconnected pools. If it's a hoax, it's an elaborate one. If it's real, then what is it? The manuscript was rediscovered in 1912 by Wilfrid Voynich, a rare book dealer who bought it from a Jesuit library in Italy. Carbon dating later placed its origins sometime in the early 15th century, but the author remains completely unknown. Even the purpose of the book is a mystery. There's no title, no preface, no familiar symbols or alphabets, just page after page of encrypted strangeness. Naturally, the mystery took on a life of its own. During World War II, British and American codebreakers tried and failed to make sense of it. Some believed it to be a cipher, hiding dangerous or sacred knowledge. Others thought it was written in a lost language, perhaps one spoken by a vanished civilization. More fringe theories suggest it was channeled from aliens, time travelers, or beings from parallel dimensions. The truth is, no one had any solid idea, and that was part of the appeal. Over time, the Voynich Manuscript became something more than just an unreadable book. It became a symbol of unsolvable mystery, a Rorschach test for the human imagination. People projected their hopes, fears, and wildest dreams onto it. Was it an ancient medical text for women? A spiritual guide? A medieval prank taken too far? Maybe it was all of those things, or none of them. The illustrations only deepened the enigma. Some plants seem almost familiar, as if copied from real botanical sources with a few creative liberties. Others are impossible. Roots that tangle into geometric webs, flowers that bloom in symmetrical impossibilities. The women, usually naked and bathing, have sparked theories ranging from alchemical processes to fertility rituals. And the circular diagrams, some resembling astrological wheels, offer just enough pattern to suggest meaning, but never enough to confirm it. For decades, the manuscript sat in Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library, quietly mocking every genius who dared to take a crack at it. It's been studied, scanned, and digitally analyzed. It's even been recreated and published, but it never gave up its secrets. Until now, or so we thought. AI tries its hand. For decades, the Voynich Manuscript laughed in the face of human intellect. It crushed cryptographers. It outlasted linguists. It turned theorists into fanatics. So naturally, we turned to the one thing that doesn't get tired, doesn't overthink, and doesn't get swept up in romantic notions of lost knowledge: artificial intelligence. In recent years, machine learning has been making headlines for everything from diagnosing cancer to generating poetry. So it was only a matter of time before someone pointed it at the world's most unreadable book and said, "All right, you try." The most notable attempt came from researchers at the University of Alberta in Canada. Using a clever combination of artificial neural networks and natural language processing, NLP, They trained an AI system to recognize patterns in over 400 languages, both modern and ancient. Their idea was simple in theory. If the Voynich manuscript is written in a real, but lost or obscured language, maybe the AI could spot something we humans missed. Machines, after all, aren't limited by our cognitive biases. They don't care about medieval myths or alien conspiracies. They just crunch data. The AI started by analyzing character frequencies and word structures in the manuscript. It wasn't looking for exact translations, it was looking for statistical patterns, repeated words, grammatical structures, common prefixes, and suffixes. And, weirdly, it found them. At first, the system flagged similarities to Hebrew. That raised eyebrows, as many researchers had long speculated the manuscript might be based on a Semitic root language. But further analysis suggested a more plausible and less esoteric theory. The manuscript might be written in a form of encoded or abbreviated phonetic language, perhaps Old Turkish or a Romance dialect, heavily stylized and stripped of vowels like ancient shorthand. Eventually, the AI began to propose tentative translations, not full sentences, but words, fragments, ideas. And those fragments started to form a picture, just not the one anyone was expecting. Instead of alchemical formulas or extraterrestrial wisdom, the AI started surfacing words like plant, body, skin, light, and blood. Many phrases read like rudimentary herbal remedies or anatomical references. In one section, believed to be focused on women, the translated terms hinted at basic reproductive health information, something akin to a medieval health manual, which is kind of useful, but not exactly Da Vinci Code material. Still, this was the closest anyone had ever gotten to cracking the Voynich manuscript. The breakthrough made headlines. Forums lit up. Conspiracy theorists flinched. Journalists wrote with cautious optimism. Could it be? Had a cold, calculating AI just solved a mystery that had stumped the brightest minds for over a century? But even as the celebration buzzed, a different question began to rise, one that carried less excitement and more existential dread. Is this it? Because while the idea of an AI decoding the Voynich was thrilling, the content it uncovered was painfully ordinary. No forbidden spells, no secret knowledge, no hidden maps to Atlantis. Just herbs, health, and maybe a medieval gynecology guide. It felt like opening a treasure chest, only to find a really detailed grocery list. And yet, that might be the most fascinating part of all. Because as much as the AI gave us answers, it also held up a mirror to our expectations. We didn't just want the manuscript to be solved, we wanted it to matter. We wanted it to be big. And when it wasn't, it raised an uncomfortable question. Has the mystery been more valuable than the truth? So, what does the Voynich manuscript actually say? The code. According to the AI, and to be fair, several linguists cautiously backing it up, it's a whole lot of health tips, herbal remedies, early anatomy, possibly some medieval menstrual cycle tracking, maybe even a spa day guide, if you go by all the bathtubs. Yup, the most mysterious book in the world might just be a 15th century women's wellness manual. Let's back up. The sections the AI made the most headway in are the ones with the infamous illustrations of naked women bathing in strange interconnected pools. Early theories pegged this part of the manuscript as astrological or even ritualistic. But the AI translations suggest something more practical. References to body parts, natural substances, and cycles that align suspiciously well with female reproductive health. Words like blood, skin, heat, pain, and moon came up repeatedly. Not exactly spellbook material unless your idea of magic is managing cramps with boiled herbs. In other parts of the manuscript, particularly the densely packed botanical sections, the content leans heavily into herbalism. Plants are named or described alongside basic instructions, such as when to harvest, how to prepare, and what ailments they might address. If the AI is right, we're looking at a medieval guide to medicine, possibly drawn from oral traditions or regional folk knowledge. Some of it might be real. Most of it probably isn't. And then there are the star charts and circular diagrams. Many hoped these would reveal secret cosmologies or ancient knowledge about the universe. But again, the AI poured some cold water on that. The circular drawings seem to function more like calendars or medical wheels, tracking time, seasons, or perhaps even lunar phases related to fertility cycles. Less mapped to the stars, more when to plant mugwort. The reactions to this were mixed. Some scholars were thrilled. Even mundane translations are historically valuable. If this is a rare example of early women's medical knowledge, that's important in its own right. It would make the Voynich Manuscript not a cryptic oracle, but a cultural artifact, a window into forgotten medieval practices, possibly written by women for women in a time when their voices were rarely recorded. But the internet? Oh, the internet wasn't having it. After all that, it's a medieval goop, one commenter wrote. This is the most disappointing decode since they told us what the Nazca lines were. Others flat out rejected the findings, accusing the researchers of jumping to conclusions, cherry-picking translations, or misunderstanding the manuscript altogether. Because here's the truth, many people didn't want an answer. Not this one, anyway. They wanted aliens. They wanted lost civilizations. They wanted to believe. What made it worse was the tone-deaf efficiency of the AI. It had no reverence for mystery, no appreciation for nuance. It didn't hesitate. It just spit out its data, soulless, matter-of-fact, and devastatingly anticlimactic. It's like asking a computer to explain Stonehenge and being told, it's just rocks. Chill. Of course, the translation isn't definitive. It's still debated. The AI didn't decode every word, and much of the manuscript remains unclear. But the direction is becoming harder to deny. More and more experts agree. This may be less a cipher and more a mix of obscure dialect, shorthand, and stylized illustrations, misunderstood not because it's hiding something, but because it never meant to be mysterious in the first place. And that's the real punch in the gut. Because if the manuscript is just a weird old health book, then the mystery wasn't in the pages. It was in us, in our projections, in our desire for the extraordinary. The Voynich Manuscript may have finally been decoded, but in doing so, it revealed less about the past and more about the kind of stories we desperately want to be true. Alternate theories still holding on. Let's be clear, not everyone is buying what the AI is selling. Yes, the machine crunched numbers, identified patterns, and spat out something that looks suspiciously like herbal gynecology, but the Voynich Manuscript isn't giving up its cult following without a fight. For every researcher ready to file it away as a medieval health journal, there are 10 more who believe we've only scratched the surface, or worse, completely missed the point. Because if there's one thing humans love more than solving a mystery, it's refusing to accept the solution. The AI-driven translation has been met with equal parts curiosity and resistance from scholars and amateurs alike. One common argument: the entire methodology might be flawed from the start. Critics argue that the AI may be overfitting, in other words, forcing patterns to match known languages that aren't actually there. Think of it like staring at clouds and insisting you see a dragon because your brain wants to see one. When an AI is trained on hundreds of languages and then asked to find meaning in chaos, it's bound to find something that looks meaningful, even if it's just a statistical coincidence. Others point out that the algorithm may be biased toward known linguistic structures. If the manuscript was written in a lost language, or even an invented one, the AI would have no frame of reference and could easily misinterpret everything. Some researchers go so far as to suggest that the AI translation might say more about the AI's programming than it does about the manuscript itself. And then there's the uncomfortable truth. The AI hasn't actually translated the entire book. It's decoded small fragments, individual words, occasional phrases, but huge portions of the manuscript remain untouched or ambiguous. We're not dealing with a Rosetta Stone moment here. We're still deep in the woods, So the question lingers, what if the AI is wrong? One of the oldest and most persistent theories is that the Voynich Manuscript is, quite simply, a hoax, a 15th century troll job. According to this theory, the book was created to fool wealthy patrons, scholars, or even monarchs into thinking it held secret knowledge, thereby boosting the author's prestige or securing funding. The gibberish text, bizarre plants, and mysterious diagrams, all smoke and mirrors. No code, no meaning, just ink on parchment, designed to frustrate and impress. In fact, some point to Edward Kelly, a 16th century alchemist and notorious con man, as a possible culprit. Kelly was known for peddling mystical books and claiming to speak the angelic Enochian language. If anyone could have pulled off the world's greatest fake manuscript, it'd be him. But the hoax theory isn't bulletproof. The manuscript is too consistent. The writing style, the structure of the script, the layout of the pages, it's all eerily uniform across hundreds of pages. Faking that level of detail, with no slips, over 240 vellum sheets. That's a lot of work for a prank. Too much, some would argue. Here's where things get weirder. Some linguists and psychologists believe the manuscript might be a case of glossolalia, the phenomenon of speaking or writing in tongues. It's often associated with religious trance states, but in rare cases, people have been known to create entire private languages, complete with grammar and internal consistency, usually without realizing they're doing it. Could the author of the Voynich Manuscript have been caught in some sort of linguistic fugue state, writing obsessively in a language only they understood or didn't understand at all? This would explain the manuscript's strange balance of pattern and nonsense. It's structured but meaningless, intricate but impenetrable. Some even suggest mental illness may have played a role, not as a dismissive explanation, but as a possible lens. A deeply creative individual crafting an entire universe of symbols as a form of coping or expression. If true, the manuscript might not be meant for anyone but its creator. A secret diary in a personal dream language. Yes, these still exist, and yes, they're still surprisingly popular. To some, the bizarre plants, unrecognizable stars, and strange water systems drawn in the manuscript suggest a non-Earth origin. Maybe it's a book from another planet. Maybe it was sent back in time from the future. Maybe it's a surviving fragment from Atlantis or Lemuria or some other long-lost civilization. These theories usually get dismissed by academia, but they're a big reason why the Voynich Manuscript became a cultural icon. They represent our desire to believe in something more, to push beyond the boundaries of known history, science, and logic. And honestly, compared to Herbal Uterus Manual, they're way more fun. At the heart of all this is one stubborn truth. People don't want the mystery to end. The AI's explanation might be rational, but it's not magical. It's not mythic. And humans, for better or worse, are suckers for mythology. We crave wonder. We want books that whisper secrets, not recipes for nettle tea and hot baths. Even if the AI is right, even if the Voynich Manuscript turns out to be nothing more than a medieval health book written in a now extinct dialect, don't expect the alternate theories to go away. They're baked into the manuscript's legend. They're part of its DNA. Because sometimes the idea of what a mystery might be is far more powerful than what it actually is. The ghost authors. For all the debate about what the Voynich Manuscript says, one of the strangest aspects remains untouched: who actually wrote it. Despite countless efforts, the author's identity is still completely unknown. No name, no initials, no dedication, not even a signature flourish at the end of the manuscript. Just 240 pages of strange script, as if it manifested out of thin air. It's not just an anonymous text, it's aggressively anonymous. Theories about authorship range from scholarly to downright surreal. Some historians suspect the author may have been a medical practitioner or herbalist, possibly a woman. The manuscript's apparent focus on health, reproduction, and botanical remedies, especially with female anatomy imagery, could indicate it was compiled for or by women, at a time when women's roles in medicine were informal and rarely documented. That would explain the secrecy. Encoding sensitive knowledge in an invented script might have been a way to protect both the content and the creator. Others argue for a lone linguistic genius, someone inventing their own writing system and pseudo-language, either for fun, for art, or as part of a now-lost community tradition. The consistency and complexity of the script support the idea that the author wasn't just doodling nonsense. This was deliberate, purposeful, obsessively so. And then there are historical suspects. While Edward Kelly, the infamous 16th century mystic, gets mentioned often, usually alongside his associate John Dee, there's another compelling candidate. Roger Bacon, the English polymath and friar. Wilfrid Voynich himself believed the manuscript could be Bacon's work, possibly encrypted to preserve forbidden or heretical knowledge. But that theory lost steam after radiocarbon dating placed the manuscript a century after Bacon's death. More recently, scholars have suggested obscure figures, monks, scribes, or court scholars who lived in the 15th century but left behind little to no legacy. One theory posits that it could be the work of multiple authors, compiled like an encyclopedia from scattered sources and styles. That would explain the strange blend of scientific, astrological, and biological themes. Of course, there's one possibility no one really wants to admit. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe the author vanished from history on purpose. Maybe they wanted the book to outlive them, without explanation, without attribution. Just pure, undeciphered mystery. And if that was their goal, they succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. What do you think of this not entirely solved mystery? Let us know what you think in the comments section. For more like this, simply subscribe to the channel.